Subscribe to the Lightsport and Ultralight Flyer web video magazine with hundreds and hundreds of videos now online, including airshow coverage, Rotax engine tech tips, Rotax 377, 447, 503, 532, and 582 engine rebuilding videos, each 2 hours in length, propeller maintenance, advisories and repairs, VRS parachute saves, Bing carb updates, and much, much more. Get a yearly subscription at www.ultralightflyer.com.
Zenith Aircraft Company. Our roots are from Zen Air. That was my dad's company, but I started Zenith Aircraft Company in 1992.
And you focus on kits, correct?
All I manufacture are kits, absolutely.
And you've done a few of those. How many you got out there? All kinds.
A lot of kits. We've been, again, doing it for 18 years. We ship out about nearly a kit a day. So
kit a day?
Working day. You know,
right,
about
sure.
A little over 200 a year. So and then, of course, we also do component kits, just the drawings alone, and so forth. So we do a lot of kits. Primarily our high wing Stole series, which the 750 is the newest one, as well as the low wing Zodiacs.
And 18 years, Sebastian's been doing this. His father, Chris Heinz, who designed these airplanes, I don't know how far back Chris goes, but a long way, let's just put it.
Early 70s.
So this is a storied design along with the other one that we'll look at here in just a minute. Let's go have a look at the airplane here, and Sebastian can tell us more about the CH750.
Now Dan, this is an all-metal airplane.
It is an all-metal airplane, and it's available as a kit. So, Sebastian, in the old days, you had to take sheets of aluminum and drill your own holes and do everything else. All that's kind of changed now as we've gotten into the CAD/CAM world, and you've reflected that in your product. Tell us a little bit about how it's easy for a home builder to build your airplane.
The CNC machines have been wonderful for home builders because it's taken a lot of time and a lot of skill out of manufacturing an airplane. We have 2 large CNC tables in our factory, and we really manufacture every single part on the 750 on that CNC table. Essentially, it pre-cuts, it pre-drills, it manufactures the part so that the part as it is supplied is ready to be assembled in the airplane. It's real nice because it still meets the 51% rule because you still have to assemble the part together, but it's all manufactured.
Now, FAA has changed that whole program a little bit in the last year.
Right.
I feel confident when I ask you, you're on top of all of that. You're on their list and everything.
Absolutely. We're as of right now, we're not on that approved list because we haven't been visited yet. But next, maybe,
yeah, you have to have a visit first, right?
But next month, the FAA team, the National Kit Evaluation team, is coming to our factory, and we're looking forward to being able to show them all that we do and all that the builder still has to do, of course. And but we know it won't be an issue with the 51% rule in our case.
Are you using something that's commonly known as a match hole system?
Absolutely.
And that means that you kind of put a couple of little, we'll call them pilot holes.
That's it.
And then the home builder lines that all up, makes a larger clicos at first. Absolutely. With the little clicos are little retainers that are used to hold things while you work on them, and then they just drill out and start riveting.
Exactly.
Is that correct?
Yeah, the parts are ready, out of the box. You just clico them together and then drill them to full size and then rivet it together. Really fantastic. So it saves a lot of the measuring time, a lot of the tedious tasks, especially a first-time builder. You would first measure 3 or 4 times before drilling that hole to get the confidence.
To make sure you didn't blow it. Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
But when the parts come all drilled, it just takes all that time consuming and confidence things that a first-time builder would have a more difficult time with. So we're seeing that the airframe kit is really coming together in 350 hours.
350 hours is going to be one of the questions I asked. And so, exactly when you're done is kind of a hard thing to know in a home built aircraft. Maybe you're never really done. You're always sort of tweaking and stuff.
You're never done.
But if you take out, painting and some of the finish work, 350 hours will get you to a complete aircraft from a kit that came to you in a box.
Exactly.
That's really not very much. What does that typically translate to people? 350 hours?
Under a year.
Under a year.
And what I'm finding is that with the 350-hour time span, there's a lot of built-in motivation. You can't spend 2 days and not have something big to show for it. So you work on it for a weekend, you got your tail done. You work on it another weekend, half of your wing is done. So there's just a lot of built-in motivation as opposed to working on your airplane for 3 months and your neighbor's coming over and saying, well, what have you done in the last 3 months? It looks the same. That kind of gets old after a while. But
I think the marketing phrase is instant gratification. You get something quickly.
Absolutely. There's and that's important, I think, because you get good rewards for what you're doing, and then I think that it makes it simple and a lot of fun that way.
No matter when you're building this airplane, there are other metal parts that, for example, is all the welding done and that type of thing?
Absolutely. You know, our kit, the philosophy that we approach in manufacturing the kit is anything that requires special skills, special tools. You know, that's what the factory's there for. That's what we're experts.
You do all the really hard parts.
I have, you know, licensed welders. I have, all that stuff that a home builder is. You know, they may want to learn the skill, and I think that's great if they do, but they don't need the skill. Put it this way. And so again, our philosophy is anything that requires special skills, special tools, we do at the factory, and leave just the value added, you know, lining things up, drilling and riveting for the customer.
Sort of the labor-intensive parts that raises that percentage up to that 51% barrier you've got to get.
Exactly.
So what tools would the average home builder need in order to finish the kit off? What tools would you recommend?
Put it this way: we sell a tool kit for $700 that includes everything you need to finish the whole airplane. That's assuming you don't have a pencil, you don't have a tape measure, and so forth. We have one tool, and that includes a very high-quality drill that's half the cost nearly of that. You need just very simple tools. Even things like snips and cutting that on our prior kits you needed to do a little bit more of. You need to do nearly none of that, because again, the CNC even cuts out little little holes, lightning holes, little brackets. It just makes a lot of the finishing work. That was kind of a tedious chore to do beforehand. Now we can do it for the customers.
So you sell them an airplane kit and you sell them a tool kit. About all you need is a little push to get them moving.
That's it. Flat table, and I know half our customers use the crate that the kit comes into.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you even send them the table in effect.
There you go. So keeps it simple that way.
So let's talk a little bit about this specific airplane. This is the 750, which is really, I guess, a step up, or just a little larger than the 701?
Exactly. We've had our 701 out since 1986, and it's been a real success for us. It really fills a niche in the marketplace for a good short takeoff and landing airplane. But as we all know, the sport pilot category came along, and we were faced with the dilemma of either stretching the 701 or upping the gross weight or coming up with something new. And we decided, obviously, to come up with something new. And the reason for that is that we can really optimize the design for the 1300.
For this new category we've got now, which you didn't know about 24 years ago when this airplane came on the market. My goodness.
Exactly. And also, again, as we were just discussing, coming up with a new design also allows us to come up, to use a new technology, because an existing design, you're always evolving it, if you will. A new design, you have to start with a blank sheet of paper. So you will design an airplane a little bit differently if it's going to be manufactured on a CNC table than if it were not being manufactured, because again, there's certain things from a design standpoint that you can design into an airplane that would otherwise be very complex for a builder to do. But again, if you have the technology to use it, it becomes very simple. So again, being in an airplane using the technology, we were able to do a number of things around the airplane that are new to the 750 that we haven't used in the 701 design.
Well, the truth of the matter is, I think even CNC machines were pretty new when this airplane was first designed, or maybe they didn't even exist then, I'm not sure. But why don't we do a little kind of a quick review of, you have 701 here with some features about it, you've got 750 now. Can you hit just the highlights of what the differences between the two airplanes are?
Sure. And well, the easiest thing to do is maybe to start with the similarities, in the sense that what the design features are, and then by extension show the upgrades from that. Again, both airplanes are really designed for maximum short takeoff and landing, STOL performance. The chunky leading edge slat on the airplane, it's a fixture of this, and it becoming obviously a trademark.
And this is a fixed device. This is not a movable one.
It's a fixed device.
Fixed, and the air flows around the wing.
Same as the 701.
Runs almost, or it runs full span. It looks like so. Full
span, and it's fixed, very high lift, very effective design. And then surprisingly, people think this adds a huge amount of drag, but this is a 100-mile-an-hour airplane. Most little high-wing airplanes out there without slats are the same thing. It's not that draggy.
So 100 miles an hour. What's the bottom end using all of these devices?
Absolutely, and the bottom end is low 30s.
Low 30s.
And that's one of the things that this airplane is unique at, because it's designed to fly very well at those low speeds. A lot of aircraft may have low stall speeds, but your controls get nearly unusable in the 30s, even the 40s. It forces you to
real sloppy and soft.
That's it.
And you retain some crispness here, because not only do you have this device on the leading edge, but as we look back here to the aileron, or actually a flaperon surface, you can see right through there. Well, that means a lot of air is going to flow over that, going to keep it effective flying for a long time.
Exactly. And so
what are you powering this type of aircraft with?
well, 100 horsepower, you know, like most LSA class airplanes, about 100 horsepower, you know, being the optimum horsepower. This particular airplane, we have the Jabiru 3300 engine.
Okay, so you got 120 in
well,
this one.
120 at high RPM.
Okay.
We run a bigger prop on it. It's about 105 horsepower, which is still plenty of power for it, but it also, importantly, it allows us to run a good-sized prop.
Yeah, you got a real wide blade prop on there, so that would also enhance its STOL characteristics, would it not?
Absolutely. And this, again, it allows us to get really good short takeoff and landing performance, because you know, turning a small prop at high RPM is pretty good for cruise, but somewhat limiting on STOL capability and performance.
So some other things that differentiate the 701 from the 750.
And well, the cabin size, you know, as we
let
know,
this door open here. Notice a bubble door here that's got a nice curvature. It's going to give you some nice shoulder room in it.
Yeah, I'd say
piston holds it up there, easy entry and whatnot.
With the doors open and the bubble in it, you've got quite a wide cabin there.
Absolutely, and that's one of the main design characteristics, changes and upgrades with the 750 is the cabin width, because as we know, Americans, we're getting bigger and bigger all the time, so we want airplanes that we can fly comfortably, and so cabin size was definitely an important design consideration. But nearly more important, or nearly as important, I'd say, is the ease of getting in and out of an airplane. It's useless having a large cabin if you can't even get into the airplane.
I saw you just pop right into this like you're sitting down in your living room chair.
Absolutely. And I consider myself a pretty fit guy, but I know some of our customers are not quite as spry on their knees. And again, the seat configuration is very different. The 701, the rear bulkhead is the back of the seat. It's very efficient for design purposes. At the same time, it's also limiting somewhat to how much space you want.
Yeah, as I look over your shoulder here, Sebastian, there's a lot of room back there with windows. I mean, I feel like I'm sitting in a fishbowl here. It's wide open all over the place for my visibility.
Absolutely.
But you got a lot of room back there. What can you carry back there?
Well, you know, load-wise, that'll depend a little bit on your CG, of course. You know, about 50 pounds is what is a comfortable limit. But again, that'll depend on the actual weight and balance of the particular airplane. We came down, we had about 60 pounds worth of baggage in the back.
Talk a little bit about the ground handling of the airplane. How do we handle the airplane on the ground?
And this airplane is really optimized as a tricycle gear, which, you know, a lot of folks are used to tail dragger airplane when it comes to bush airplanes. But problem with tail draggers is there are fewer and fewer schools that are training on tail dragger airplanes.
A lot of pilots grew up without that experience now. So
exactly, the new generation of pilots all learn on Cessnas with a little nose wheel up front, and then the insurance rates reflect that, because a new pilot will have a hard time for tail dragger endorsement. So we optimize our airplane for tricycle gear configuration, and we have a bit of a unique setup in that it's direct linkage to the nose wheel.
Steerable nose wheel
it's
with
fully steerable, and as I push the rudder pedals, it's dragging that nose wheel. So it really allows very precise ground handling, again, which is really something you want for an off-airport environment.
Is the center yoke a standard type thing, or is it an option if you wanted dual sticks?
The center,
two hands on it here.
Center stick like that is a standard configuration. We do also have a dual stick option.
Nose wheel steering, and therefore a nose wheel with a big fat tire up there, so it can accommodate that. You got easy use of controls. You got modern instrumentation. You got low kit building time. This sort of changes the ethos about a bush plane from being an unfriendly, a little bit difficult, got to learn how to fly kind of thing, to something you could get in after you build it and probably go enjoy that kind of outback flying pretty quickly.
You're absolutely right, Dan. And I know sometimes bush pilots, their ego, they have a problem with that because they think a bush plane has to be hard to fly.
Too easy. You made it too easy.
And we can now take a low-time pilot, and they can safely have fun with this in the bush. And so I think it really is opening up a lot of horizons for a lot of pilots.
Great. Well, I've been to your website many times. You got a nice website. There's a lot of information on it. And to get more information about the Zenith Aircraft Company and their variety of kits and services, you want to go to zenithair.com. That's Z-E-N-I-T-H air.com.
And have you got a flight report on this airplane, Dan?
Not on the 750 yet. We're working on that. I do have one on the 701, and there's some familiarities as we discussed, so that's useful until we get the 750 done. That's available on buydanjohnson.com or bydanjohnson.com.